Once again, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining for another session of Azure Power Lunch. As we know, we record these calls, place our recordings on our YouTube channel. If you don't want to be recorded, you may want to drop off now. And folks, please feel free to let the people in. Um, and yeah, so if I'm not looking at the screen. Okay, folks, so we are going to start with our topic of discussion today, which is failover planning for Azure storage. I know if you have seen the email or the website, the title was storage updates. One of the topic I want to discuss was failover planning. But when I look at this topic in more detail, while I was prepping for it, and yeah, that then I realize I think it will need its own slot, and we will cover the other topic, which is copying, storage artifacts from one to the other, one storage account to the other in a probably more detail in a later session. So basically, we're going to see what different things are available, how uh, we can plan for the storage failover, what are the built-in resiliency mechanisms that are there. Before we jump into it, I just want to give um, a brief moment to talk about different durability and reliability, resiliency features that storage has. So first of all, as we know, that storage, you can have a locally redundant storage, which this is the storage account type, where you have three copies of the data in the same region. And what it means is that you have three copies that are synced when all the time. Whenever you make a save or write data, it is not committed until unless all three replicas are committed. So you have three replicas. In case of geo-redundant, you have three replicas in one region and three replicas in other regions. So total of six replicas. Okay. When we move on to the zone redundant, it is similar to locally redundant, but what with zone redundant, you have three copies spread across multiple zones. So that gives you further resiliency and reliability and all. So you have three copies, but spread across different zones. Same thing with Geo zone redundant. In that case, you have six copies, but three copies in one region, three copies in the other, and they're all spread across zones. Okay. Finally, there is the ability to access the secondary replica read-only. So yes, there's a primary replica in the case of uh, globally redundant or geo-redundant, and the secondary replica. Primary, you can read-write, and you have an option to make the secondary replica read-only. Okay, so that option is available. Um, so basically, um, so that's kind of, and by the way, just want to give a heads up here. You should not use geo-replication as a way of backup. This is not meant for backup. This is basically if you write some bad data, it will be replicated on the other side. So it's not a meant for backup. Backup is want to save the last known good state. Okay, and that's a discussion for another time. I just want to mention one thing here that when you are doing geo-replication, it is asynchronous. So yes, your three copies in one region, they will all save. Replicas are kept in sync synchronously, but the when you're replicating, doing geo-replication, the data that is sent on the other side, that is not kept in sync. Um, it's kept in sync in asynchronous fashion. Makes sense. I mean, otherwise the performance will suffer. So that's the thing, and just keep that in mind as we go on to the next slide. We're going to talk about different type of failovers. So let's say you have a geo-redundant storage account. By default, there is a Microsoft managed failover. It happens when Microsoft deem a particular region that is not, I mean, it's not operable, has some natural disaster happened over there, something like earthquake or some sort of that thing, or Spire, God forbid, and then you have that region not available, then Microsoft will make the secondary region available, and you can access your data from there. So that's the Microsoft Manage. There is also an unplanned um, uh, customer managed unplanned failover. It is in GA. In that case, what you do is you just fail over the account. Just keep in mind there will be a data loss. Okay, just think of it. Uh, you have a geo redundant storage account. You have one replica in the primary region, one in the secondary region, and the data, some data that is saved on the primary, some data that is saved on the secondary, and there is some data in transit. If you do an unplanned failover, you will lose the data that is in transit or the data that hasn't been copied to the secondary region. Just keep in mind, unplanned failover happens immediately. This is there to test, okay, how my app will function if something happens to the primary region. So in that scenario, or in the scenario where you absolutely have to fail over to the secondary region, okay, or the primary region endpoints are not available. Then this is the one which is currently in public preview, and that is called uh, customer managed planned failover. And this is where what's going to happen is that you have a primary region and a secondary region. When you say, okay, I want to do a planned failover, what it's going to do is storage, Azure is going to wait for a time when your primary and secondary both are in sync, and then it's going to do the failover. Okay, so it's not immediate. You say, okay, I want to do a planned failover. It's going to wait for them to sync, and then it's going to do the failover. So at a particular moment when these two, so let's say that you were copying 10 files, 1 to 10, um, uh, into your primary location. What's going to happen is, let's say you copied 6 files, and 6 files have been replicated onto the secondary region. You're copying the seventh file, and it's being replicated. As soon as, let's say you do the planned failover. What it's going to do is it's going to see once the seventh file is copied. So basically, primary and secondary regions both are in sync. At that moment, it's going to do the failover. So there is no data loss. And that's very important to know. We will look at some of the other aspects of the both planned and unplanned failover, and and see what are the key differences there, and what are the ramifications of using one or the other. Just to keep in mind, planned failover is just for there to test how your app will behave in large scale disaster. It's a very controlled experiment. you know I will call unplanned failover kind of last ditch break glass thing. But this one is a controlled experiment, like how your application will function if you have to do a failover between primary and secondary. Any questions? Okay, so let's move on to um, the next slide. Okay, so this is the support. As I said, all account types are supported with the Microsoft Managed Plan Failover, and there are certain support for certain account types um, um, with the Customer Managed Planned and Unplanned Failover. So just keep that in mind. Um, let's move on. This, as I said, Microsoft Managed Failover has been there since the beginning, and it's a GA. Microsoft Manage, oh sorry, Customer Manage Unplanned Failover. It is in GA. You can use it in production. And then you have the Customer Managed Planned Failover. This is currently in preview. It's only available in certain regions. I have listed those regions. This is based on the documentation this morning. And since it's a preview feature, in order to use that feature, you will have to set these flags. I'm sure you're aware you can go up to the subscription, go to the feature flag, and set those flags up there. And that's how you will be able to um, kind of see this feature, that radio button enable. Okay. And we will, when we look at the demo, I will explain it. So that's that. Okay. Now, let's see. I mean, this is very interesting. Like, what will happen between the planned and unplanned failover, um, uh, or the state of the storage account? So, let's say that you have a geo redundant storage account and you did an unplanned failover. A few things will happen. First of all your data on the primary site will be deleted. Okay? Second, your secondary will become your primary, and it will no longer be a geo redundant account. It will be a locally redundant LRS account. It will not be a GRS. It will be an LRS storage account. Okay. So just keep that in mind. Geo redundancy is lost in the case of unplanned failover. If you are doing a planned failover, in that case, your primary will become secondary and your secondary region will become primary. The data is still there and your storage account is still GRS. Okay. So that's, just keep that in mind. Very important to keep in mind between unplanned and planned. When you're doing this, this is a key distinction that is there between the planned failover and the unplanned. Unplanned, GRS is lost. In the case of your account becomes LRS. In the case of plan, GRS is kept, the status is kept. Only you switch your primary secondary. Primary becomes secondary, secondary become primary, and at the same time your account still stays GRS. Got it? Any questions, folks? Okay. So this is the stage by stage, just to explain. You know, what happens is if you are doing an unplanned failover, your account after failover becomes LRS. Okay. And if you do a geo redundancy, it will become GRS. And of course, if you have a GZRS, I mean, same thing applies to it, same thing. So this is something to, keep that in mind. In the case of customer manage, it is GRS even after the failover, and you don't have to enable geo redundancy again. And you do after failback, it's still when you fail back. I mean, you can do failover, failback all the time. It will still stays the same. Okay, there is no difference in that. There is no issue there. Okay, so these are some of the things that you have to keep in mind. Let's go into the next. Okay, so now some of the supported and unsupported feature. Data lake storage is supported in both cases. It is in preview. Change feed is not supported with planned failover. If you have change feed, it's not. If you have object replication turned on, planned failover is not supported. Okay, and of course there is uh, some other stuff that is not supported in both planned and unplanned failover. So just keep that in mind if you're using those things. And there are two type of services in storage. There are multiple types of services, but when you have blob storage, you have block blob and you have page blob. And you know why page blob is used? Page blob is the basis of unmanaged disks. If you are using unmanaged disk, and you should not be, you should be using managed disk. That's the way forward. But in any case, if you are using unmanaged disk, there are certain things you have to take care of. Okay, which will make your life easier. Once you have because remember, if you are doing a failover of your storage, you have some unmanaged disk which are running with a VM. So let's say you have a VM that is using unmanaged disk based on a storage account and you do failover, VMs will not fail over. It's not that, oh yeah, VM will automatic. You have to do that separately. So this is the kind of that's why it's important not to use unmanaged disk and use managed disk. That's the much simpler route to go. Because look at this. First, you have to shut down the VM, delete the VM, keep the disk, and all do all of that homework because last sync time is important when you have page blobs. It will take some time to this time to be sync up, and once you do the failover, you will have to create the VMs again and you know attach those to the page blob. So all of that stuff you will have to do. If you just do manage disk, you will avoid these type of things. Okay, so just that. Any questions, folks? Okay, so for a quick demo. So let's go about it. And first of all, let's go in here. So let me move this thing on the side. This is my subscription. And first of all, I want to show you the preview feature that we have to turn on. Okay, I need to go in here and I need to select. This is the feature. Right now it's registered. What you need to do is select it and register. And it takes, in my case, it takes a few minutes. And after that, it was working. So just need to register this particular feature and that will enable this planned over for you, just a planned failover for you. Just keep in mind, unplanned failover, you can always do it. Planned failover is currently in public preview, and you have to enable this to do the unplanned, to do the planned failover. Um, this is that, and let's move on to our storage account. So this is a storage account. As you can see here, I have created this storage account in Fast Central. It's a GRS account. Primary is in Fast Central. The secondary is France Central, primary is South. Okay, France South. All good. So let's do a failover. In that case, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into the redundancy. Primary is France South. And by the way, you know why it is showing this way? Because initially I had the account in France Central and the secondary was South. So I was testing it. I did the failover. Okay. So that's how I switched it. Okay. So what you need to do is, and by the way, if you have created a storage account and just go into this, this button will be the prepare for failover button will be grayed out because it takes some time for this to enable, and it will tell you that it is making sure that both storage accounts are in sync. Synchronizing is checking on the synchronization status, and it will take some time. So it will take some time for this button to be available. Once that is available, remember, if you haven't turned on that preview feature, the planned failover button will be disabled. If you have to, since we have turned it on, the planned failover button is available. Okay, now let's look at each of these. Unplanned failover, last thing, your storage account will be moved from Fast Central to local redundant storage, and you can update your account redundancy setting after blah, blah, blah. I mean, the same thing we read about it. We talked about it in a few minutes, and it's available in the slide deck, in the documentation as well. Let's do a planned failover. This is that. Is geo redundant? Let's confirm it and let's do a failover. And just keep in mind this will take some time. So we are not gonna sit here and kind of wait for this failover to finish. We are gonna go to another account that we have just created and take a look at the unplanned failover. So we are here on this account. It's the redundancy. And what we're going to do is it's in East US2. The replica is at West US2. We're going to do prepare for failover. And we are going to do the unplanned failover. Okay. Um, so in that, we are just going to say yes. And let me see where this storage account. Give me 1 second. Let me see. Yes. So once again, let's go in here in the data management, redundancy, and I'm going to go prepare for failover. We're going to do unplanned failover. Yes. And by the way, you see the planned failover is currently grayed out. You know why? Because I am in a region where planned failover is not available. It's only available in certain region and only those regions this button will be available. So if you want to do unplanned failover, let's do that. And what it's going to happen is it will take some time. And after the unplanned failover, we will only have the West US region and it will be LRS. Normally, it doesn't take much time, but let's see. Okay, let's see if, yeah, this one is also going. So failover in progress. I mean, we can take a look at it. This, the whole process, failover is in progress and it will take some time to complete. Okay. So in the meantime, any questions, folks? Okay. Yeah, so both of these operations, they take a few minutes. So I just wanted to show you, like, once you click the button, just give it some time to complete it. So just want to do a quick wrap up and let me go back to this slide here. And in regards to the kind of quickly wrapping up discussion, you have Azure storage, which provide different ways for kind of for resilience and failover. By default, you have LRS, um, GRS, LZRS, GZRS, which makes, depending on its geo-redundant, 3 to 6 copies in different regions spread across the zone. If you are using the LZRS or GZRS, or ZRS or GZRS storage account. And in regards to the failover, Microsoft Managed Failover is always available, but it will only take place if Microsoft deemed a data center completely inoperable. Okay. Then you have the customer managed unplanned failover. This is in GA. You can do it, but just keep in mind after that, your account will become locally redundant and you will lose all the data in your primary location. Your secondary will be your main, and that will become, locally redundant. In the case of the planned failover, customer managed planned failover, which is currently in public preview, you will not suffer a data loss. Your account stay geo-redundant. What will happen is your primary will become your new secondary, and your secondary will become your primary account. So that's the key difference. That's what I want to mention. And we have 5 more minutes. Any question? Let's go back to our storage account in the meantime to see if anything happened to them. Let me refresh it here. No, they're still going. So it will take some time before the failover completes. So it's like watching the paint dry. Any questions, folks? Last call. We have 4 minutes. Okay. If there are no questions, I will give everybody their 4 minutes back, and thank you for joining. Just quick heads up that there will not be a call next week because it's a holiday week in USA, Labor Day, so there won't be a call next week. Okay. Thank you very much. Have a great day, everyone, and hope everybody enjoys a long weekend if you're US in US.